Chapter 1. Inside the Maybach, Aurora Bell was lost in Julian Kingsley's kiss, feeling overwhelmed and confused. Her clothes were nearly off, while Julian Kingsley remained impeccably dressed. The stark contrast between them made her blush involuntarily. Julian reached out, pulling her waist closer, and whispered with a low chuckle, "The partition's up. The driver can't hear anything and wouldn't dare to listen. What are you blushing for, him?" Watching the usually cool man become increasingly intense beneath her, Aurora wrapped her arms around him, her eyes filled with love. Just as the waves of pleasure were rapidly building, about to crest, they were abruptly interrupted by a sudden phone ring. Being disturbed during such intimacy made Julian frown, but seeing the caller ID, he answered. Aurora, catching her breath, glanced at the contact name, Jasper Davies, his best friend in their circle. "Julian, are you cra?" Julian frowned slightly, cutting him off in perfect Italian. "Not convenient. Speak Italian." The person on the other end took a deep breath, pausing for a moment before continuing in Italian. "Did you really marry Serena Vance? What on earth were you thinking? You went blind saving her back then, and what happened? She abandoned you at your lowest point, got together with another guy, and nearly destroyed you, and now you're back together." Those unfamiliar words automatically translated in Aurora's mind. Once she grasped what was being said, a chilling cold washed over her, as if she'd been plunged into an ice cellar. Julian, however, didn't notice her unusual reaction. "If I don't marry her, the Vance family will force her to marry some old man. I can't bear to see her suffer like that." "Then, what about Aurora Bell? She was the only one there for you. When you were blind, she's been with you for so many years. Loved you so much she practically offered you her heart. All of us guys saw it." Hearing the undisguised anger in Jasper's tone, Julian remained cool. "I'll find a way to hide it. She'll never know about this." "How long can you hide it? A lifetime? Doesn't Aurora really want to marry you?" The more he listened, the more irritated Julian became, his tone growing impatient. "Keep the news about Serena and me getting married under wraps. Don't tell anyone. I'll prepare a fake marriage certificate for Aurora in a while." With that, not wanting to hear any more of Jasper's lecturing, he hung up abruptly. Lowering his gaze, Julian tossed the phone aside and continued his ministrations on Aurora. Aurora trembled uncontrollably. When they both reached their peak and began tidying their clothes, she parted her lips, about to speak, but his phone chimed again. It was the custom notification sound for a priority contact on his social feed. Julian picked it up, glanced at it, and then told the driver to stop. "Aurora, there's an emergency at the office. Can you get out here and grab a cab home, okay?" She said nothing, just nodded silently and opened the car door. The black Maybach sped away like a bolt of lightning. Aurora stood by the roadside, staring numbly at the bustling street filled with traffic. She couldn't hold back any longer, and tears streamed down her face. No one knew that, in order to close the distance between herself and Julian, she had learned Italian long ago. So, she had understood every single word he exchanged with Jasper. Every sentence echoed in her ears, like countless daggers plunging deep into Aurora Bell's heart. And those buried memories surged forth along with her shattered love. Julian Kingsley was the lofty young master, and she was the servant's daughter. That year, she followed her mother into the Kingsley family's magnificent villa and saw Julian elegantly playing the piano in the sunlight. She had never heard such beautiful music, nor seen such a handsome young man. With just one glance, the name Julian Kingsley became deeply etched in Aurora Bell's heart. She had never told anyone about the person hidden in her heart. Not just because of the vast chasm of their social statuses, but also because she knew Julian liked someone else. That girl was Serena Vance, his childhood sweetheart. He never hid his affection for Serena, treating her like a treasure, protecting her fiercely. At 17, Julian even lost his sight in a car accident while saving Serena. But from that day on, Serena vanished as if she'd evaporated, never setting foot in the Kingsley house again, and even started dating someone new. The Kingsley family had other grandchildren, and Arthur and Alina Kingsley were constantly busy with their careers, having no time to care for their blind son. Julian was sent to the old family estate, lonely and isolated. It was Aurora who requested a transfer back to the old estate to personally care for him for 7 years. When she was 23, she knelt outside the home of the renowned doctor. Ainsworth for 3 days and nights, finally persuading him to come out of retirement and cure Julian's blindness. The tarnished pearl regained its luster, dazzling everyone. In just 1 year, Julian returned to the pinnacle, becoming the heir to the Kingsley Corporation. She was the one who stayed with him through winter and summer, from dusk till dawn, through those arduous 7 years. She was the one who kissed him, held him, slept with him. It was always her. But she never expected that the first thing he would do after regaining power would be to marry Serena Vance. The woman who had abandoned him over the years, she had worked desperately hard to keep up with him. Yet, no matter how she changed, Julian's parents felt she wasn't worthy of their son, repeatedly trying to pay her off. Julian always argued with his family for her sake, and she didn't want to let him down, so she never considered leaving. Until today, Aurora didn't want to stay by his side anymore. So she wiped away her tears, took out her phone, and dialed a number. "Mrs. Kingsley, I'm willing to accept the $5 million you offered and leave Julian Kingsley forever." Chapter 2 on the other end of the line, Eleanor Kingsley was instantly thrilled. "You've finally seen sense. Good that you've thought it through. A servant's daughter like you, how could you possibly be worthy of the Kingsley heir? Where are you now? Come over immediately, let's sign the contract." Seeing the address Eleanor eagerly sent, Aurora gave a self-deprecating smile and hailed a cab. When she arrived at the cafe, Mrs. Kingsley asked her many questions. After answering each one, Eleanor showed a satisfied expression, produced an agreement, and pushed it towards her. "Black and white, no regrets once signed. After you sign, I'll transfer half the money to your account immediately. The other half will be transferred on the day you leave. You must promise that once you receive the money, you will never appear before Julian again for the rest of your life. Understand?" Looking at the astronomical compensation amount specified in the agreement, Aurora's eyelashes trembled slightly. Of course, she wouldn't appear again. Not in this life, nor the next, did she ever want to see Julian Kingsley again. So, without hesitation, she picked up the pen and signed her name decisively. Only then did Mrs. Kingsley finally relax, collecting the agreement and standing up, adding a final instruction. "I'm only giving you 2 weeks. Whether you change your name and disappear or go abroad is up to you. You must find a way to ensure Julian never sees you again. I understand, Mrs. Kingsley. Rest assured." After watching Mrs. Kingsley leave, Aurora returned home. Making sure Julian never saw her again was simple. The Kingsley family had a special background. With ancestors in the military and politics, 3 generations were barred from leaving the country. As long as she emigrated, Julian would never be able to see her again. After spending half the night researching information about foreign countries, she finally decided to emigrate to Australia. Having made her decision, Aurora picked up her phone to check the time, only to see a notification for a new social media post. Opening it, she saw a collage of photos posted by Serena Vance. The top 3 were selfies of Serena holding roses, the middle 3 showed marriage certificates, and the bottom 3 depicted intertwined hands with clasped fingers. Aurora knew that since Julian wanted to hide the marriage, he would never have allowed Serena to post this. But she had posted it anyway, setting the visibility to Aurora Bell only, just to flaunt it. Aurora obligingly hit the like button. Just as she exited the app, she received a message from Julian. "Aurora, I have a business trip. I won't be back for a few days." She replied with an okay, put down her phone, and went to wash up. The next day, Aurora woke up early to handle her immigration procedures. Since she was in a hurry, she applied for expedited processing. She breathed a sigh of relief when the staff promised it could be done within half a month. After getting into a car, she scrolled through her feed again and saw another post from Serena. This time, half of Julian's body was visible. They were holding hands, looking at new houses, and had finally settled on a villa in Seacliff Heights. Like yesterday, she liked the post again. On the 3rd day, Aurora went to her company to submit her resignation. Carrying her belongings home, she saw Serena in her feed, already wearing a wedding dress, the diamond ring on her ring finger sparkling brightly. She liked the post as usual, then buried herself under the covers. On the 4th day, she woke up to another update on her feed, fresh content. This time, the camera focused on the wedding photos hanging in the bridal suite. Aurora stared for a long while before snapping back to reality. She liked it as usual, then put on makeup and went out for a farewell dinner with a few close friends. In the evening, she returned with several boxes and threw away everything related to Julian. The gifts he had given her over the years, matching toothbrushes and cups, photos they took together. Not a single item remained, everything went into the trash. By the time she finished, it was late at night. Just as she was about to turn off the lights and rest, Julian suddenly returned. He froze when he saw the empty room, his brow furrowed tightly. "Why is so much stuff missing from the house? I didn't like it anymore, so I threw it out. We can buy new things later." Julian nodded, took off his jacket, tossed it onto the sofa, but his gaze was drawn to the boxes nearby. "You quit your job?" He paused, then noticed something on the coffee table. "Why did you suddenly take out the household registration documents?" Culturally adapted. "Why did you suddenly take out your official documents ID?" "I was too tired, wanted to rest for a while, so I quit. The documents are because I have some paperwork to handle." Aurora explained calmly while putting the items into her bag. Seeing her composed demeanor, Julian didn't overthink it. He pulled her into his arms, his tone gentle. "I've been busy these past few days, no time to spend with you. Your birthday is in a couple of days. How about I take you to an auction house tomorrow to pick out some gifts?" Aurora didn't refuse. The next day, just as they took their seats in the main hall, Aurora saw Serena Vance. Serena sauntered over to them and sat down in the seat next to Julian. Throughout the evening, Julian kept his head turned towards Aurora, talking to her, not glancing sideways even once. After the auction ended, he didn't linger, pulling Aurora downstairs immediately. Before heading home, Aurora went to the restroom. As soon as she came out, she saw Serena cornered in the stairwell by a group of men being subjected to lewd jokes. Well, isn't it our Miss Vance? Abandoned Julian Kingsley out of spite back then, and now look where she's ended up. Wouldn't you say this is karma? I hear your father's marrying you off to some old geezer with one foot in the grave. You're still quite fetching, why not come with us home? We'll definitely treat you tenderly." The second half of the sentence was cut short. Julian descended from upstairs, his face extremely grim. He kicked out viciously at the group of dissolute young men, the Cadogan crew. Chapter 3 Then, he pinned the leader to the ground, punching him relentlessly, beating them until their heads were bleeding and they begged for mercy. "Sorry, Mr. Kingsley, we were wrong, please, you're a magnanimous man, spare us. Get lost if you dare show your faces in front of her again, you'll face the consequences." His furious roar terrified the men, sending them scrambling away in panic. A crowd had gathered in the stairwell to watch the commotion. Julian ignored the prying eyes, helped Serena stand up. "Are you hurt?" Serena threw herself into his arms, crying pitifully. "I twisted my ankle, it hurts so much." Julian's eyes darkened. He swept her up into his arms and pushed through the crowd, quickly walking away. To shield the woman in his arms, he raised his elbow, inadvertently shoving Aurora, who was standing nearby, to the ground. Her head hit the hard steps, creating a bleeding gash. The onlookers gasped. "Your head is bleeding, quick, call 911." Aurora's face contorted in pain, cold sweat breaking out on her body. Warm blood seeped through her fingers, dripping onto her eyelashes, feeling impossibly heavy. She watched Julian's retreating figure, not even glancing back, a bitter taste filling her mouth. Before, if she cut her finger while making soup for him, he would fuss over it for ages, insisting on calling a doctor, terrified of leaving a scar. She'd found his overreaction amusing, but he would lower his head, kiss her hand, and tell her softly, "Aurora, you're the person I hold dearest in my heart. When you're hurt, I feel it more than you do. Our lives are better now, you don't need to do these things anymore. Your hand will wear the ring I give you one day, scars wouldn't look good." Now, she was injured, and he turned a blind eye. And the ring he promised her was now on someone else's hand. The ambulance took Aurora to the hospital. She registered, saw the doctor, and picked up her medication all by herself, only arriving home late at night. That night, the pain kept her awake, tossing and turning restlessly. Julian didn't return all night. The next morning, dragging her exhausted body up to change her dressing, she saw Serena's social media post. It was a video of Julian kneeling on the ground, massaging Serena's foot and applying medicine. Aurora watched it several times, her eyes red-rimmed, before drifting off to sleep without realizing it. When she woke again, it was dark outside. The phone beside her pillow vibrated incessantly. As soon as she answered, she heard Julian give an address. The River Pavilion, room 703. Come over now. Aurora hesitated for a moment before getting out of bed. She freshened up and rushed over. Pushing open the door to the private room, the first person she saw was Serena. Serena's eyes were red, looking pitifully like a wronged little bunny. Julian stared fixedly at Aurora, silent, his face wearing an inscrutable, grave expression. The room remained quiet for a long time before Aurora finally broke the silence. "Why did you ask me to come here?" Julian sat up straight, clasping his hands, adopting the posture of someone in charge. "Aurora, those thugs yesterday. Did you send them to deliberately cause trouble for her?" Aurora froze on the spot. She subconsciously glanced at Serena and caught the fleeting look of triumph in her eyes. In an instant, she understood that this was likely all staged by Serena. She gave a self-mocking laugh. "It wasn't me. I don't know them, and I have no inclination to do such things." Julian's expression didn't improve with her explanation. He lowered his eyes, his tone calm. "Aurora, the moment Serena decided to abandon me back then, I had already completely let her go. You've been with me for 7 years, you should know who holds my heart now. The Vance family is down on their luck now. Anyone can kick them while they're down, but it shouldn't be you. You don't need to make things difficult for her on my account." Hearing this, Aurora's heart clenched violently. She couldn't help but remember him venting his pain late at night. Remember the times she accompanied him everywhere seeking medical help. Remember his silent expression after being misdiagnosed and told he would never see again. The golden boy, losing his sight completely for a girl. But those desperate days and nights, a full 7 years, were now casually brushed aside by him, as if they had never happened. Finally, she remembered the marriage certificate bearing his and Serena's official stamps, tears welling in her eyes. "Yes, we've been together for 7 years. How is it that I'm only just realizing who truly holds your heart?" At her words, Julian's gaze hardened slightly. "What do you mean?" Aurora shook her head, a self-deprecating smile twisting her lips. "It means I'm just a servant's daughter. What power or connections would I have to find those people and bully a high society lady?" Even though she laid it all out plainly, Julian still didn't believe her. Aurora was tired too. She took a deep breath and gave up explaining. "Since you don't believe me, just tell me straight. What do you want me to do?" Julian rubbed his temples. "Apologize, Aurora. You did something wrong, you need to say sorry." Just then, Serena, who had been playing the pitiful victim for a while, suddenly spoke up. "Let's skip the apology. If you genuinely feel sorry, just drink all this whiskey." Chapter 4 on the table, numerous glasses filled with amber whiskey were lined up. Aurora's gaze shifted upwards, landing on Julian, wanting a definitive answer from him. But the lighting was dim, obscuring the expression on his face. In the boundless silence, Aurora felt slightly suffocated. She gasped for breath, countless memories flooding her mind. When they first moved into the old manor, because he couldn't see, Julian relied on drinking every day to numb himself. Worried about his health, she constantly tried to dissuade him, but he wouldn't listen. Until one time, after getting drunk, he scoffed and pushed several bottles towards her. "Now even a servant's daughter dares to lecture me. Is this the mighty tiger brought low, bullied by dogs? Fine, you drink all this and I'll listen to you." Aurora wanted to tell him that wasn't what she meant, that she wasn't lecturing him, she was worried about him. So, even though she was allergic to alcohol, for his sake, she didn't hesitate for a second, grabbing a bottle and downing it. Within minutes, she was rushed to the hospital. When she woke up, she saw him sitting by her bedside, his face grim. "I was the one who was drunk, not you. You knew you were allergic to alcohol. Why would you risk your life like that?" Aurora answered with just one sentence. "Because I was worried about you, young master. Your eyes will see again someday. Even if they don't get better, I'll stay with you forever. So please don't lose hope, okay?" From that day on, Julian quit drinking. For years afterward, not even a single bottle of alcohol could be found in the house. Lost in thought, Aurora started to smile, but tears shimmered in her eyes. She didn't explain further. She leaned down, picked up the wasabi powder container nearby, poured it into a glass, her tone utterly resolute. "Just this much alcohol, how can that show sincerity? I'll add an extra punishment for myself. Is that enough?" With that, she raised the glass and tilted her head back, pouring the liquid into her mouth, glass after glass. The pungent, bitter taste spread down from her lips and mouth, filling her stomach and reaching the heart it could never truly touch. It wasn't until the seventh glass that Julian, unable to bear it any longer, finally stopped her. Enough. Looking at the dozen or so remaining untouched glasses, Aurora smiled. Is that enough already? Does that count as my apology? Is it enough to please your sweetheart? Hearing this, Julian abruptly stood up and seized her hand. His usually emotionless face was now so dark it looked like it could drip water. You know that's not what I meant, Aurora. I told you, Serena and I are finished. The Kingsley family won't approve of you, and if you do something so outrageous, people will seize on it. I just don't want you to be put in a difficult position, to be gossiped about. Julian spoke righteously, sounding logical and reasonable. But Aurora laughed out loud. The Kingsley family wouldn't approve of her, the daughter of a lowly servant. Would they then approve of Serena Vance, who repaid kindness with malice, marrying into the family? Yet, despite all the obstacles, didn't he marry Serena just because she asked? Everything was just an excuse for not loving her enough. Aurora didn't want to waste any more words. She wrenched her hand free and turned to leave. Just as she reached the door, her body swayed and she fainted. Julian's heart leaped violently. Without hesitation, he rushed forward, picked her up, and was about to leave. Serena quickly grabbed his sleeve, calling out tearfully, "Julian, I feel a little dizzy." Julian paused, but only for a few seconds. Then he strode away quickly, leaving behind only one sentence. "I need to take Aurora to the hospital. Call your assistant to take care of you." When she woke up again, Aurora found herself in the hospital. Julian, who hadn't slept all night, finally breathed a sigh of relief when he saw her open her eyes. They looked at each other for a long time without speaking. Julian poured her a glass of warm water, tucked her blanket in properly, got up to call the doctor for a follow-up check, and patiently noted down the instructions. He brushed off several urgent calls demanding he attend meetings. Seeing his secretary waiting awkwardly by the door, Aurora finally spoke, "Go handle your work. I can take care of myself. You shouldn't be doing these things anyway." Julian paused, the knife in his hand stilling for a moment. His voice was slow. "Anything I do is appropriate, Aurora. Have you forgotten? You took care of me just like this back then." A flicker of haze crossed Aurora's eyes. Back then, blinded and abandoned by his wealthy family like a discarded pawn. Only she was there, learning Braille daily to teach him, attending classes with him, taking him out into the sun, preparing all sorts of delicious food for him. It felt like she had secretly possessed the moon. Her previously dim life became as bright as day. And those 7 years that passed were also a rare period of joy in her life. It was just a pity that the moon didn't belong to her, and she couldn't return to the past. In the afternoon, the doctor took Aurora to the examination room. Half an hour later, a nurse helped her back to the ward. Just as she pushed open the door, she saw Julian holding her phone, his brow furrowed tightly, speaking coldly to his mother. "I told you, Aurora and I are genuinely in love. We like each other. I don't care about her family background, and you don't need to waste your efforts anymore. I will definitely marry her, and she won't leave me." Hearing the noise, he looked up at her. The next second, he heard his mother's confused voice through the phone. "What do you mean she won't leave? Don't you know? Aurora Bell already agreed a few days ago to go abroad." Chapter 5, the words stopped abruptly. Aurora dragged her weak body forward, snatched her phone back, and hung up. Julian stared at her in astonishment, not understanding why she was so agitated. "What's wrong?" Seeing his bewildered expression, Aurora knew he hadn't heard the entirety of what his mother had said. She breathed a sigh of relief, averted her gaze, and tried her best to make her voice sound calm. "Nothing, I just don't want you two arguing because of me anymore." Lately, the Kingsley family had indeed been causing constant trouble over his relationship with Aurora, always trying to break them up, and he had indeed argued with them several times. Hearing her explanation, Julian didn't suspect further and instead asked about the checkup results. "The doctor said there are no major issues. I can be discharged." For the few days after returning home, Julian rarely went out, staying by Aurora's side. She wasn't as lively and cheerful as before, often sitting in corners, lost in thought, seeming listless. Julian couldn't figure out why. He held her, trying to coax her, but she got up and went back to the bedroom. "I'm not feeling well, I need to rest for a bit." Watching her retreating figure, Julian was somewhat surprised. He assumed she was still upset about the apology incident and had his assistant prepare a surprise. On her birthday, he threw a party specifically to celebrate. Out of respect for Julian, most people from their social circle attended. In his presence, these people were reasonably polite to Aurora, but as soon as he stepped away, they would gather together, judging and gossiping endlessly. If it weren't for Mr. Kingsley, I'd never attend a servant's daughter's birthday party in my life. It's degrading just talking about it. I don't know what Mr. Kingsley sees in her. Look at that tacky, impoverished air about her. It's suffocating. Mr. Kingsley is really loyal and righteous. If it were me, I'd just give her some money and be done with it. Actually marrying her would truly disgrace the Kingsley family name. Despite being the guest of honor, Aurora stood alone, isolated and ignored. Listening to the undisguised insults and mockery coming from all directions, she felt utterly exhausted. If she weren't afraid of Julian noticing something amiss, she wouldn't have come here. Because of this deliberate exclusion, every minute became agonizing. Around 7 o'clock, the banquet hall suddenly buzzed with excitement. All the guests turned in unison towards the hall entrance, their expressions of disgust instantly morphing into fawning smiles. News traveled fastest in their circle. Everyone knew about Julian's violent outburst defending Serena recently. Seeing her arrive now clearly indicated he still cared, so they rushed to curry favor. Mr. Kingsley, so you left earlier to pick up Miss Vance after all these years. Your feelings are still so strong. Of course, they're true childhood sweethearts. Look at Miss Vance's elegance and appearance, such a perfect match for the god like Mr. Kingsley. Amidst the speculation, Aurora watched Serena enter, arm in arm with Julian, feeling somewhat dazed. Serena wore a magnificent haute couture gown, a dazzling diamond necklace accentuating her poised figure. Her delicate, beautiful face radiated the refined aura nurtured by wealth and privilege. Even standing beside the imposing Julian, she showed no sign of being overshadowed or intimidated. Irrationally, Aurora remembered a sketch Julian had drawn after regaining his sight, a portrait without defined features. At the time, he said he was just doodling out of boredom. She found it beautiful but didn't think much of it. But seeing Serena today, she knew exactly who the drawing depicted. So it wasn't a reconciliation after a break, but rather that he had never forgot. Aurora lowered her eyes and silently turned away, but Serena called out to her. "Miss Bell, I heard it's your birthday today. I hope you don't mind me crashing the party. I even brought a gift." With that, she signaled someone to bring over a small, entirely white puppy. "His name is Snowy. Isn't he cute?" Seeing the bouncing puppy rushing towards her, Aurora stumbled back a few steps in shock, bumping into a table. Her face paled slightly, her eyes filled with fear and panic. "Please take him away. I don't like puppies." Chapter 6. Hearing this, Serena's face fell. "Julian, is Miss Bell still angry with me about last time? Then I'll just leave, I won't disturb you too." She turned as if to go, but Julian quickly grabbed her arm, frowning at Aurora. "She meant well, Aurora. Aren't you the one who loves small animals the most? Just accept it." Seeing the displeasure in his eyes, Aurora clenched her fists tightly and could only turn to his secretary. "Mr. Thompson, I'm wearing heels, it's inconvenient. Could you please hold the puppy for me?" The surrounding crowd started making snide remarks again, saying she couldn't appreciate kindness and liked putting on airs. Julian also assumed she was deliberately giving Serena a hard time again, his face darkening as he led Serena into the main event area. The space quickly emptied, leaving only Aurora alone. She poured herself a glass of water and drank it, slowly calming her panicked and nervous emotions. She used to love puppies very much. But 5 years ago, during a power outage on a stormy night, Julian had a high fever. She braved the heavy rain to go out. The neighbor's large wolf dog chased her the entire way, biting a chunk of flesh out of her calf. In the end, she endured the pain to bring back a doctor, only tending to her own wound after confirming Julian was okay. She developed a deep fear of dogs after that incident but never told him, not wanting to worry him. Even through her dress, she could still feel the outline of the scar. The guests attending the banquet were adept at gauging the situation. Seeing Julian's attitude, they openly treated Aurora with disrespect. When it came time for the celebration part, everyone crowded around Serena as if it were her birthday. Julian's anger had subsided somewhat. Only then did he call Aurora over to blow out the candles. She walked over silently. Just as she was about to make a wish, she heard Serena exclaim in apparent surprise. "Oh, what a coincidence. Miss Belle, you and Snowy share the same birthday. Why don't we celebrate together?" As soon as these words were out, everyone around covered their mouths, stifling laughter. Seeing the challenge in Serena's eyes, Aurora dug her fingernails deep into her palms. She took a shallow breath, her voice tinged with coldness. "In that case, let the puppy blow out the candles. Everyone can sing happy birthday to him. I won't impose." Seeing she was genuinely about to leave, a vein throbbed on Julian's forehead. He lowered his voice, stopping her. "Aurora, this birthday party is for you. If you leave first, what will it look like?" Aurora ignored him, turning and walking towards the entrance. Unable to tolerate it any longer, Julian chased after her, grabbed her, leaned close to her ear, whispered something, and then pushed her back towards the cake. "Be good, everyone here is from our circle. If you leave abruptly, it'll sound bad if it gets back to the Kingsley family. They'll be even more against us being together." Approve of them being together? What us? Wasn't he already married to Serena Vance? The cheerful strains of the happy birthday song filled the air, but Aurora merely twitched her lips, stiff and numb like a statue, showing no sign of happiness, until someone suddenly picked up the puppy and thrust it into her arms. Goosebumps erupted all over her skin. Halfway through the song, the restless puppy struggled and leaped out of her arms. The towering champagne pyramid was knocked over, crashing down directly towards Aurora and Serena. Screams filled the air. The falling glasses flickered like afterimages in Aurora's pupils. She watched helplessly as Julian shielded Serena in his arms and moved away, watched countless shards of glass and streams of alcohol crash onto her. Her fair shoulder was scratched by fragments, leaving long, bloody marks. Trickles of blood dripped down, staining her soaked white dress red. She collapsed to the floor, unable to suppress a groan of pain, cold sweat drenching her forehead. Julian heard the sound and turned back. Seeing she was injured, he was about to return, but Serena beside him shrieked, "Ah, Julian, Snowy scratched me, could I get rabies?" Looking at the tiny scratch on Serena's ankle, Julian hesitated for a moment, then instructed his secretary, "Take Aurora to the hospital to get her wound treated." With that, he hurriedly left with Serena. The guests also began to leave, not forgetting to kick her while she was down. "Snowy, Aurora? Miss Belle is quite creative with names. Look at some people. Don't they look just like pathetic wretches? Don't insult Snowy. Snowy is adorable, not comparable to some leech trying to climb the social ladder." Every word fell clearly into Aurora's ears. She looked down at her disheveled state, her nose stinging, tears welling up. The birthday banner swayed and fell, landing in front of her. She picked it up, surveyed the chaotic scene after everyone had left, and finally let her tears fall freely. Her 23rd year ended so bleakly. Chapter 7, it was dawn when Aurora finally dragged her exhausted body home. After turning on the lights, her phone buzzed several times. It was a message from Serena Vance. "You like my posts every day, so you must know Julian and I are already married, right? He also said he's giving me a wedding in the Maldives. I've seen the plans. It's going to be incredibly grand. Every detail is something we dreamed about when we were young. I didn't expect him to remember after all these years. And I have you to thank too. If it weren't for you, Julian's eyes would never have seen the light of day again. I really must thank you for taking care of my husband for a whole 7 years." Reading these brazen taunts, Aurora no longer even had the energy to be angry. She went back to her bedroom, lay down, and fell into a deep sleep. That night, Julian still didn't return, only sending a message. "Aurora, I still have some things to deal with. Are you badly hurt? If it hurts a lot, tell me, I'll come back immediately." Aurora stared silently at the lines of text, her gaze flickering. After a long pause, she replied with one word: "Unnecessary. Julian Kingsley, from now on, I don't need you anymore." Once the wound on her shoulder scabbed over, Aurora returned alone to the old Kingsley family estate. This was the place where she and Julian had lived together when he was blind, just the two of them. She found a hoe and went to the still flourishing peach tree in the yard. Buried beneath it were the wishes they had made on Julian's 18th birthday. She dug them up. The metal box was rusted, and condensation clouded the outside of the sealed glass jar inside. She took out the star-shaped folded piece of paper, unfolded it, and saw her own handwriting. "I hope Julian can see the world again. I hope Julian will be safe and prosperous. I hope I can always stay by Julian's side. Her wishes for the future were all tied to Julian. Some had come true, some would never be realized in this lifetime. Next, she unfolded the other piece of paper, written by Julian. I hope I can see again. I hope Serena is well. Every word was about him and Serena. Nothing about her. So he truly never blamed Serena for abandoning him. He willingly endured the car accident for her, without regret. Aurora smiled bleakly, crumpled the note she had written, and threw it down the drain. Then she took off the necklace from around her neck. This was a gift Julian bought her with the money earned from his first business deal after returning to the Kingsley family. She had felt bad about him spending so much money, but he had held her, kissing her endlessly. Aurora, they say it's lonely at the top, but as long as you're by my side, I have the courage to keep climbing. This is just a necklace. Everything I own in the future, including myself, will be yours. She buried this necklace, along with everything related to the past. After filling the hole back in, Aurora turned and walked back towards the house. But just as she reached the entrance, she ran into Julian and Serena. Seeing her appear here, surprise flickered in his eyes. Aurora, what are you doing here? Aurora didn't answer, instead asking him a question. What about you? What are you and her doing here? Before Julian could speak, Serena smiled and interjected, I haven't heard Julian play the piano in ages. He said the piano was at the old estate, so we came back to get it. Miss Bell, you know this place well, why don't you show us the way? Without waiting for Aurora's consent, she pulled her towards the villa. Chapter 8, the moment the door opened, countless memories flooded Aurora's mind. The furnishings and arrangement of the room were exactly the same as the day they left, unchanged. Perhaps having lived here for so long, revisiting the place stirred something in Julian too. He turned to look at Aurora. Aurora, do you remember when we— I don't remember. Aurora lowered her head, her voice barely audible. Julian paused, then pointed to the Lego model placed in the corner. Didn't we put this in the study after finishing it? How did it end up here? Aurora didn't follow his gaze, replying flatly, You couldn't see then. Many memories are like illusions, muddled. Just like she thought Julian loved her. But in reality, his feelings for her were merely an illusion born of desperation, like quenching thirst by dreaming of plums. Because he couldn't see and had to rely on touch, she was like a guide cane, which is why he felt she was important. But once he regained his sight and could do whatever he pleased, she became irrelevant. And she had believed that their support for each other during their youth could sustain them through storms. In the end, it was all just smoke and mirrors, a grand dream ending in emptiness. Seeing the fleeting desolation on Aurora's face, a tightness formed in Julian's chest. He desperately wanted to ask her what was wrong, but she turned away and went out to the balcony. The piano is in the last room down the corridor. Go find it yourselves. Listening to the fading footsteps, Aurora sat on the rocking chair and slowly closed her eyes. Before long, the sunny sky suddenly turned overcast, and raindrops began to fall. She got up and returned to the living room, hearing the sound of a piano from nearby. It was the first piano piece she had ever heard in her life, Liebestraum, Dream of Love. Listening, she felt transported back to that summer day when she was 10. Unconsciously, she followed the sound. Through the window, she saw Julian and Serena sitting at the piano, playing a four-hand duet. Even after so many years, their chemistry hadn't diminished at all, just like in the past. And after 7 years, the look in his eyes as he gazed at Serena was still filled with endless affection. So Julian truly loved Serena, that much loved her so deeply that even after she abandoned him for 7 whole years, he never forgot her. Yes, he was the golden boy, and she was the golden girl. Why did she, a servant's daughter, insist on intruding into a world that wasn't hers? Fantasizing about possessing someone who didn't belong to her. If time could be turned back, she wouldn't have fallen in love with Julian at first sight, wouldn't have secretly crushed on him, and certainly wouldn't have recklessly run off to take care of the blind him for 7 years. The piano music gradually faded, then ceased. Sometime later, Serena's hand rested on Julian's, sliding upwards. Through the window, she saw Serena climb onto his shoulders, offering her red lips. Julian, I know you still love me. In that moment, Aurora couldn't bear it anymore. She turned and fled. The rain fell harder and harder, soaking her completely. Her mind was blank, one moment feeling like dry grass on a cliff edge, the next like a lone boat overturned by waves. Rootless, adrift, even her tears were lost in the rain, leaving no trace behind. Chapter 9. After arriving home, Aurora took out her suitcase and began packing the last of her belongings. She worked until dawn. Julian still hadn't returned, but she didn't care anymore. The next day, Aurora went to the immigration office and collected all her documents. On the way back, she booked a flight departing that afternoon. When the car stopped at her gate, she saw the Maybach parked in the courtyard and quickened her steps. Upon entering the bedroom, she saw Julian standing next to her suitcase, seemingly about to open it. In panic, she blurted out the only thing she could think of. "Weren't you with Serena Vance? Why are you back?" Julian froze completely. He slowly turned around, and the moment he looked up, his eyes flashed with anger. He walked up to Aurora, his tone laced with deep frustration. "Aurora, what nonsense are you thinking now? I told you, Serena and I will have nothing more to do with each other." Nothing more to do with each other, but you married her to protect her. Tears welled up in Aurora's eyes as she laughed, yet she still chose not to expose him. "Then I misunderstood." Seeing no unusual expression on her face, Julian breathed a slight sigh of relief. "There's a Kingsley family dinner tonight. The family has agreed you can come back with me." Hearing this, Aurora was stunned. Arthur and Alina Kingsley agreed? Seeing her stunned look, Julian ruffled her hair and handed her a card. "Aurora, don't worry. One day, I will make them accept you, and you'll stand by my side openly. I'm a bit tired now. I want to rest for a while. Let the secretary accompany you to pick out some suitable outfits, okay?" Aurora stared at the card for a long moment before taking it. "You rest. I can go by myself." Julian rubbed his temples and nodded. Aurora put the documents she had just collected into her bag. Julian lay down on the bed and quickly fell into a deep sleep. Looking at his face, largely unchanged from when he was 17, Aurora felt slightly lost in thought. She raised her hand one last time, tracing the line from his brow downwards. Perhaps sensing her small movements in his sleep, Julian grabbed her hand and murmured softly, "Serena, don't fool around." Hearing this sleepy utterance, Aurora smiled silently. She withdrew her hand, picked up her luggage, and went downstairs. The villa was quiet, the maids were taking their lunch break. No one knew she was leaving. On the way to the airport, Aurora blocked and deleted all of Julian's contact information. Then, she deactivated all her social media accounts. The busy airport teemed with people. Watching the flickering departure screen, she made one last phone call. "Mrs. Kingsley, I've arrived at the airport as promised. I'm boarding soon to leave." Alina Kingsley on the other end was very pleased, her voice filled with unconcealed delight. "Good. As long as you don't show up at tonight's family dinner, the remaining money will be transferred to your account. Goodbye then." Hearing the boarding announcement over the speakers, she gently shook her head. "No, Mrs. Kingsley. It's goodbye forever." Then, Aurora hung up the phone, tossed the mobile into a trash bin, and walked through the boarding gate, striding forward, resolutely, without looking back. Chapter 10. Julian did not sleep soundly. He vaguely dreamed of past events, the darkness and confusion of that painful period resurfacing. But this time, the girl who had always silently accompanied him was gone. "Aurora," he murmured her name, his brow tightly furrowed. Caught in the nightmare, his chest heaved violently. In the dream, he fumbled to get up, searching everywhere for the person who should have been beside him. But no matter how he called out, there was only silence around him. Gripped by intense fear, his eyes snapped open, his temples beaded with sweat. The curtains blocked the light effectively, plunging the room into darkness. His heart pounded violently, momentarily unable to distinguish reality from the dream. He sat up, his voice trembling. "Aurora?" Silence filled the room. He called out again. "Aurora," when there was still no response, he stumbled out of bed, fumbling blindly to turn on the lights. The room was instantly flooded with light. Only after clearly seeing everything in the room did he let out a sharp sigh of relief. The lingering palpitations from the nightmare gradually subsided. Julian rubbed his temples. Seeing that the person he longed for wasn't in the room, he stood frozen for a moment. Where was Aurora? His recently calmed heartbeat began to race again. Gasping for breath, he flung open the door. The villa was unusually quiet, with only a few maids cleaning the living room. Seeing Julian emerge from the room, they greeted him in unison. "Where's Aurora?" he asked, almost impatiently. "Miss Bell, we haven't seen her. Shouldn't she be taking an afternoon nap with you in the room, sir?" Julian wanted to say more, but the familiar notification tone sounded from the phone in his pocket. He instinctively opened the message. Serena Vance's pitiful voice came through the phone. "Julian, dear, the light in my living room is broken, and there's no one else home right now. Can you come over and help me?" Julian frowned, about to refuse, when another voice message arrived. "Julian, dear, I know you're taking Miss Bell back to the Kingsley estate today. I'll be alone tonight and without lights." The rest of the sentence remained unfinished, followed only by a low sobbing sound. "If Aurora comes back, give me a call. I have something to take care of right now. I'm heading out." Tossing out this instruction, Julian went back to his room, changed his clothes, grabbed the car keys from the table, and left. When he arrived at Serena's place and pushed open the door, he saw her lounging on the sofa in a flimsy, cool nightgown, a large expanse of pale skin exposed. Hearing the noise, she opened her eyes, seemingly dazed as if just woken up. "Julian, dear, you're here." Seemingly overjoyed, she ran forward and threw herself into his arms, the softness of her chest pressing against him, sending tingles through him. "Why are you wearing so little? What if you catch a cold?" He habitually embraced the person in his arms, letting her bury herself against his chest. "I was a little scared. If you didn't come, I'd be alone tonight." Her plaintive voice came from below. He almost instantly replied, "Then you should come back to the Kingsley estate with me tonight too." But the moment the words left his mouth, he regretted it. Just as he was about to say something to backtrack, the woman in his arms lifted her head, looking at him with red-rimmed eyes. "Really, Julian, dear?" Chapter 11. In that instant, the words of refusal stuck in his throat. But seeing the troubled look on his face, Serena's tears suddenly started falling. "Julian, dear, is this difficult for you?" "It's okay, I don't mind. If it's really inconvenient, I won't go today." She expected Julian to immediately soften his tone and console her, but the man before her suddenly seemed relieved, reaching up to pat her head. "Today is indeed rather special. You shouldn't come back with me." Serena's eyes widened in disbelief, a flash of hatred crossing them before quickly morphing back into pitiful vulnerability. The tears that had almost stopped began to roll down her cheeks again, large and heavy. "Julian, dear." Julian, however, was clearly preoccupied and didn't notice. He gently pushed her away slightly, looked up at the ceiling light, and asked, "Is this the one that's broken?" Seeing he wasn't responding as she wished, Serena bit her lip, mumbled a sullen hem, and sat down on the sofa sulkily, refusing to look at him. But Julian's mind wasn't here at all. The dream from earlier kept replaying in his head, the sense of panic growing larger, almost engulfing him. Noticing Julian's unusual behavior, Serena approached again, tugging at his sleeve with a sob. "Julian, dear, what's wrong?" Julian finally snapped back to reality, his racing heart causing cold sweat to bead on his forehead. He shook off Serena's hand, frowned, took out his phone, intending to call Aurora and ask. But strangely, the call wouldn't connect. The continuous beeping sound made him increasingly anxious. "Serena, I have something urgent to attend to. I have to go. I'll find someone to come and fix this for you later." Hurriedly throwing out this sentence, he paid no more attention to Serena's reaction, opened the door, and strode away. Watching the door slam shut heavily in front of her, the venom in Serena's eyes almost overflowed. She didn't need to think hard to know Julian was rushing off to find that bitch, Aurora Bell. She took out her phone and furiously typed a line of text. "Aurora Bell, you are so pathetic. Do you really want to be a mistress hidden away in the dark? Why don't you just die the moment she hit send?" A glaring red exclamation mark popped up. Aurora Bell had blocked her instantly. A bad premonition rose in her heart. Instinctively, she quickly deleted the provocative messages she had sent to Aurora from her own phone. Meanwhile, Julian, having returned home again, pushed open the door to find the figure he longed for still absent. "Where's Aurora? Hasn't she come back yet?" For some reason, his voice trembled with anxiety. "We haven't seen Miss Bell since noon." "Oh, right, sir. When we were tidying up the room just now, we noticed that Miss Bell's things seemed to be gone." As these words registered, a chilling sensation ran through him, making his entire body tremble. "What do you mean?" The maid looked up, somewhat puzzled, her face showing confusion. "Sir, wasn't it you who packed away Miss Bell's things? I saw all her clothes were gone. I thought maybe you were planning to buy her new ones." Chapter 12. His heart jolted violently. His eyes instinctively searched the living room for something, as if expecting Aurora to appear before him in the next second. "Aurora!" Julian called her name over and over, the panic in his heart growing larger and larger. An impossible thought began to surface. Aurora had left him. He refused to believe it. "Aurora, are you joking with me? Come out now, this joke isn't funny at all. I was wrong this morning, but Serena and I really are just friends, believe me, okay?" Julian spoke, pacing restlessly, his eyes scanning the surroundings, trying to find the hiding Aurora. Only then did he suddenly realize that many things seemed to be missing from the villa. Their photos together, Aurora's personal belongings. All gone. How could this be? How could everything be gone? Julian was almost frantic. The nightmare from noon resurfaced in his mind. Unwilling to give up, he pulled out his phone and continued calling Aurora. But the phone only emitted endless beeping sounds. With trembling hands, he tried messaging her, only to see the glaring red exclamation mark Aurora had blocked him, his pupils dilated sharply, his body trembling. Overwhelming terror instantly engulfed him. Numbly, he scrolled through his phone, searching for any social media accounts related to Aurora, but they were all gone. She had deactivated them, all of them. His mind went blank intermittently. Racking his brains, he couldn't think of anywhere else she might have gone. Aurora's father had passed away when she was young, and her mother had succumbed to a serious illness a couple of years ago. His only hope lay with Aurora's friends. "Hello. This is Julian Kingsley. Is Aurora with you?" "Huh. What nonsense are you talking about? Why would Aurora be here?" This conversation repeated countless times. He even asked his own friends. No one knew Aurora's whereabouts. The taste of utter despair washed over him again and again. It felt as if he had entered that nightmare world without Aurora. His feelings for Aurora now completely filled his heart. Her sudden departure was almost equivalent to tearing flesh from his chest. The pain of having flesh ripped away alive nearly crushed him entirely. "Aurora, don't play games with me, okay? I want to see you." Julian roared hoarsely, his eyes completely bloodshot, like a lion that had lost its mate. But why? He asked himself. All the details of his interactions with Aurora during this period replayed in his mind. Now, he suddenly remembered his recent bias towards Serena and his neglect of Aurora. And that day, her body suddenly stiffening when she overheard his conversation with Jasper in Italian. "Aurora, did she ever learn Italian?" Seeing his somewhat crazed state, the maid spoke cautiously. "Miss Bell has been studying foreign languages for years, sir. She even had private tutors. Didn't you know?" With a buzz, the tightly wound string in his mind finally snapped. Chapter 13. So Aurora had understood their conversation back, then she knew all along that he had married Serena and planned to keep it hidden from everyone, including her. Julian's heart pounded with panic. He had thought he could hide it perfectly, balancing Serena and Aurora. He believed he was being careful. With Serena, it was just a lingering obsession from the past. He resented her for leaving with another man, almost madly wanting to keep her by his side forever. But she was supposed to be the hidden one, intentionally kept separate from Aurora, because the person he loved, ever since losing his sight that year, could only be Aurora. But he never expected she had learned Italian. She understood that conversation. She had discovered everything, but how could she be so cruel? He was merely obsessed with the past, merely pitying Serena. How could she erase all her information and completely disappear from his world? His vision blurred, gradually obscured by overflowing tears. He remembered all those years Aurora stayed by his side, in the pitch darkness, only her voice steady and warm. "Don't be afraid, Julian Kingsley. I will always be with you. Always. As long as you don't do anything to betray my trust, of course, it will be always." At that time, Julian had pulled the young woman into his arms, his voice choked with emotion. "I would never betray you, Aurora. It's settled then, you have to stay with me forever." But when exactly did things change? Was it Serena's repeated pleas or Serena's tearful, wronged face? Gradually, he started taking Aurora's presence for granted. He began thinking about the person who had abandoned him, and that person happened to be down on her luck, waiting for him to rescue her. He confidently believed he could keep everything under control, but he forgot. Although Aurora only had him left, she was never the type to compromise or endure mistreatment. Rather than suffer inner torment, she chose to leave him completely. Aurora knew him too well. She knew clearly that if Julian found out she planned to leave, he would stop her, using any means necessary to keep her. So, she abandoned everything, including all ways to find her, and vanished entirely from Julian Kingsley's world. Understanding all this, Julian suppressed the unwillingness in his heart. "Aurora, impossible, I could never let you go," he murmured Aurora's name over and over, his eyes filled with longing for her. "Aurora, it was my fault. I shouldn't have treated you like that because of another woman. You can do whatever you want to me, hit me, curse me, anything is fine, but please, just don't leave my side." He repeated his apologies countless times until his voice grew hoarse. But the person who should have heard them was no longer beside him. Saying more was futile. "Aurora Belle, I will find you. To the ends of the earth, we will meet again." Julian's eyes hardened with determination. He couldn't possibly let go. Aurora could only ever be his. He would admit his mistakes, kneel and apologize, find a way to make her forgive him, but he would absolutely not allow Aurora to leave him. Eyes full of resolve, Julian tremblingly opened his phone's photo gallery and devoutly kissed her picture on the screen. Chapter 14. When the plane landed in Melbourne, it was exactly midnight. The border control officer reviewed her documents, asking some standard questions. "Miss Aurora Belle, how long do you plan to stay in Australia?" "Hello, I've received a job offer from a company in Melbourne. My work visa and other necessary documents are already processed. I currently plan to work here for 2 years." Hearing her fluent English, the officer didn't make things difficult, stamped her passport, and let her through. Aurora politely thanked them, collected her luggage, and left the airport. Using her newly purchased phone, she searched for the location of her hotel and hailed a cab. The driver was an Asian Australian woman. Seeing Aurora's face, she immediately struck up a conversation in Mandarin. Hearing her native language in a foreign land, Aurora felt a sense of warmth and familiarity. Chatting idly along the way, the friendly driver, Miss Davies, gave her lots of tips about living in Melbourne, which Aurora carefully noted down. When they reached the hotel, they exchanged contact information before parting ways. Miss Davies helped her bring her luggage to the elevator and then left. Aurora used her key card to open the door. Seeing the clean and tidy room, the tension she had been holding finally eased. She unpacked, went downstairs for dinner, came back, washed up, and quickly fell asleep on the soft, large bed. A night of good sleep. She woke up groggily around 2 the next afternoon. Seeing the completely unfamiliar room, Aurora felt a bit disoriented. It took her about 5 minutes to finally realize she had left her homeland and arrived in a brand new country. Melbourne was in the height of summer, and the weather was hot. She pulled out a few dresses, changed, went out for some lunch, and then took a taxi to the area near her company to check out the apartment she had booked earlier. The landlord arrived on time and handed her the keys to the apartment. After entering her new home, she walked around, noted down the things she needed to buy, and then hired a cleaner. In the evening, she returned to the apartment with her luggage and settled in. Over the next few days, Aurora bought many daily necessities, and the previously empty rooms gradually filled up. While organizing her things, she kept in touch with her roommate, who was due to arrive in a few days. Slowly, she began to adapt to local life. Thanks to her excellent cooking skills and the proximity of several universities, and being relatively young herself, she naturally blended into the international student groups and became friends with 2 girls living nearby. They took her shopping, introduced her to nearby restaurants, and explored local attractions together. She balanced her time between working at the company and exploring with them during her leisure time, leading a rather fulfilling life. One morning, there was a noise outside the door. Rubbing her sleepy eyes, she walked out of the bedroom to see a young woman in her early 20s pushing a suitcase, shyly greeting her. "Hello, are you Aurora Belle? I'm Sophia Mason, your roommate." Only then did Aurora remember that her roommate had mentioned arriving in Melbourne today a few days ago. She quickly went forward to greet her, helped her new roommate unpack, and showed her the layout of the apartment. In just one morning, the 2 who had only chatted online quickly became familiar with each other. That afternoon, they went grocery shopping together. Sophia Mason was still a student and had classes starting in a few days. Aurora personally cooked a full meal and invited the friends she had made earlier for a get-together. After spending time together, everyone's relationship had clearly grown much closer. Chapter 15. Apart from Aurora, everyone else had a few drinks, their faces slightly flushed, clearly a bit tipsy. Someone started it, and suddenly everyone began complaining about their ex-boyfriends. Some burst into laughter, while others had tears in their eyes. Some stories were so bizarre that Sophia Mason couldn't stop laughing. She casually nudged the only sober person beside her, Aurora. "Aurora, what about you?" Aurora looked blank for a moment, memories of the past involuntarily surfacing in her mind. Strangely, she found it somewhat difficult to talk about. After all this time, mentioning Julian didn't really bring her sadness anymore. But looking at these young women, students several years younger than her, she genuinely didn't know how to begin. The atmosphere fell silent for a moment. Sophia realized something and quickly changed the subject, not putting Aurora in an awkward position. After everyone left and Sophia's head cleared a bit, she came over and apologized cautiously. "Sorry, Aurora, I drank too much. I wasn't thinking straight earlier." Aurora naturally wouldn't blame her. She smiled, ruffled the hair of the pitiful-looking girl in front of her, and urged her to go rest. Once the room was tidy, she finished washing up and lay down in bed, opening the new social media account she registered before coming to Australia. She had only shared this account with one close friend. No one else knew where she had gone or her current contact information. Staring at the dozens of messages on her phone and the constantly increasing red notification dots, Aurora's eyes widened in surprise. She clicked through them briefly and found almost all were related to Julian Kingsley. Is Julian Kingsley sick in the head? Wasn't he all lovey-dovey with his white moonlight before? After you left, it's like he suddenly had an epiphany, realizing your importance. Hilarious, does he really think he's the male lead in some chasing wife to the crematorium redemption drama? A bit of regret, and he thinks he can just win his lover back. He keeps coming to find me every few days, asking where you went. But don't worry, sis, I'd never tell him your location. Oh right, a month ago, Julian had a huge fight with his mother at their family dinner. I overheard some of it. Seems like he was blaming his mom for forcing you away. This guy's definitely nuts. What does his mom have to do with it? Isn't the main issue that he was too timing and trying to deceive you? He's been drinking heavily lately too. Apparently, he drank so much a couple of days ago he nearly got a perforated stomach, ended up in the ICU. The doctors warned him sternly not to drink like that anymore. If you ask me, he's too lucky. Why didn't he just drink himself to death? There were many more messages cursing Julian. Receiving so much news about Julian again, Aurora felt no ripples in her heart anymore. It felt so distant, almost like events from a past life. She pulled open the curtains. Outside, the sky was clear and vast, a brilliant blue like a perfectly polished sapphire. The warm sunlight, bright and radiant, dispersed the lingering chill within her. "Aurora, I'm heading to class outside," the young woman's energetic voice called out. She smiled, told the person outside to be careful on the way, opened her phone, and spoke with a voice full of relief and ease. "From now on, you don't need to tell me any more news related to Julian Kingsley." The sense of unreality that had constantly hovered around her finally dissipated completely. Chapter 16. When Julian Kingsley woke up again, his surroundings were a vast expanse of white, and the pungent smell of disinfectant filled his nostrils. The side effects of the alcohol were still spreading. His head felt heavy and dull, and his entire stomach was weighed down, sour, and faintly aching. He stared blankly at his surroundings as the blurry scene gradually came into focus. Eleanor Kingsley's eyes were red-rimmed, seemingly furious. Making such a fuss, wanting to die over a woman like that, what kind of behavior is this? She's just a servant's daughter, what exactly do you like about her? Several of his buddies also gathered around, earnestly trying to persuade him. Aurora Bell has been gone for a month, not a single word. She definitely did it on purpose. Julian, just let it go. Julian had heard these words countless times over the past month. He had never listened before, and now he simply treated them as background noise. His bloodshot eyes were vacant and lifeless, his thin lips pressed tightly together, his stubbled face showing only stubbornness. Seeing him like this, Alina didn't want to waste any more words on him. Without even glancing at him, she slammed the door and left. The room instantly fell into dead silence. His friends exchanged glances, carefully choosing their words to try again. Honestly, with your status now, what kind of woman can't you have? Julian, there's really no need to keep holding onto Aurora Bell. You should show her that you can live better without her, that you'll have plenty more women while she's nothing without you. Won't she just come crawling back eventually? Yeah, worst case, we can find you a few women who look like Aurora Bell. You can train them a bit, won't it be the same? What do you say? Crash! A water glass shattered at their feet, splashing water onto all their trousers. But everyone froze, silent as cicadas in winter, not daring to breathe loudly. Previously, watching Aurora Bell devotedly stay with the blind Julian, they had been contemptuous. A blind man, nothing more than a discarded pawn of a wealthy family, yet someone still fawned over him. But gradually, this contempt turned into jealousy. They were all young masters from wealthy families, women coming and going around them, yet none had ever encountered such a genuinely devoted woman. They couldn't help but recommend women to Julian. But even after regaining his sight and becoming a highly sought-after figure in their circle, he never showed interest in other women, wholeheartedly doting on Aurora. Until Serena Vance returned. They pretended to advise Julian while secretly creating opportunities for them. Sure enough, this time, they succeeded. Julian's love wasn't absolute after all, and women like Aurora Bell should realize that true love doesn't exist in this world. Now that Aurora had left, they expected Julian to completely let loose, but instead, he suddenly went mad. Now, he wouldn't even tolerate a few words from them. All of you, get out, don't you dare speak ill of Aurora again, or I can't guarantee what I might do to your families. His chilling words fell, and instantly, everyone's faces turned pale with fright. One by one, they made excuses and left the hospital room. The last man to leave felt resentful. After closing the door, he took out his phone, called his assistant, and sent a picture of Aurora Bell. Get a good look at this woman. Find me someone who looks like her, the closer the resemblance, the better. He turned his head, looking coldly at the closed door. He wanted to see how Julian could possibly keep up the act, now Chapter 17. After staying in the hospital room for a few days, Julian decided to discharge himself early. The day after discovering Aurora had left, he had initiated divorce proceedings with Serena. Now, the 30-day cooling-off period had passed, and he needed to get the divorce certificate as soon as possible. That day, although Serena cried pitifully, she ultimately said nothing, obediently going with him to register the divorce-related matters. Her misty eyes stared fixedly at him, telling him he must be happy. He had initially been displeased with Serena, but seeing her act so sensible, he couldn't bring himself to blame her in the end. He even agreed not to publicly announce their divorce for the time being. He drove to Serena's home. Just as he reached the door and was about to open it directly, he heard voices from inside. That bitch Aurora Bell, when she saw those messages, why didn't she just die playing the disappearing act? It's been a month already, why hasn't Julian let go yet? What's so good about that cheap woman? But thankfully, I was already pregnant. I'm 3 months along now, the pregnancy is stable. As long as I tell the Kingsley family about this, Julian can throw the biggest tantrum, but he won't be able to divorce me. What are you jealous for? Of course, I've always loved you. Even though this baby is his, the next one will definitely be yours, okay? The fragmented words drifted out, like one sharp blade after another, ruthlessly stabbing into Julian's heart. His breathing grew rapid, his eyes turning crimson. The heavy sound of the door opening echoed. Serena subconsciously hung up the phone, her face flustered as she looked towards the door, forcing an unnatural smile. Julian dear, isn't your body still recovering? Why are you discharged? Who were you talking to? His thin lips parted, his gaze chillingly cold. Hearing this, Serena's pupils contracted. She tucked a few stray strands of hair behind her ear, forcing composure. Julian dear, I was just talking to my friend. She was asking if I liked any of the new arrivals at King's department store. But thinking about separating from you made me sad, so I just gave her a brief reply. Is something wrong? The man let out a cold laugh, approaching step by step. Who are you calling a bitch, and who's jealous of you? Serena's face instantly turned deathly pale. She grabbed Julian's sleeve, her eyes pleading. No, Julian dear, you misheard. My friend was just jealous because I've been spending time with you instead of going shopping with her. She didn't call anyone a bitch. Julian pulled her hand away, his eyes unconsciously darkening with a chilling emotion. What exactly have you been doing behind my back? Don't force me to investigate myself. You must have said or done something to drive Aurora away. Like before, tears rolled down her cheeks in large drops. Sniffling, she sobbed uncontrollably. I only found out when you told me I didn't do anything, Julian dear, but this time, it didn't earn Julian's sympathy. He grabbed her wrist, his expression somewhat ferocious, the force in his grip gradually increasing, as if intending to crush her slender wrist directly. Serena Vance, I don't have much patience to play along with your act. You'd better tell the truth, everything you know, otherwise. You know I've never been a soft-hearted person. Chapter 18. Serena stopped crying, her hands hanging limply, staring blankly at Julian. She didn't understand why his attitude towards her had changed so drastically. Before, whenever she cried, he was always the most anxious. But now, his eyes held only indifference. It felt like even if she cried herself dry, he wouldn't be moved in the slightest. Serena didn't dare confess her provocations towards Aurora or certain deliberate setups. She kept her mouth tightly shut, almost desperately praying to Quentin Shaw implied. Julian dear, I didn't do anything, please believe me, okay? Miss Bell is such a nice person, and you've helped me so much. I'm so grateful to both of you. How could I possibly treat her badly? Although she never liked me, and this tantrum has lasted a bit long, but Julian dear, please don't treat me like this just because she left. As she spoke, she squeezed out a few more tears. Julian was usually easygoing. Her only hope was that he would soften towards her and let the matter slide. He might not have heard everything anyway. Even if he did, she could just claim her friend said those things, and she was merely trying to mediate. As long as he didn't pursue this, she could reveal her pregnancy with his child. Then, spending time together day after day, combined with their past affection, she could surely make him have eyes only for her. But the man before her, abandoning his usual indulgence, let out a cold, mocking laugh, a scornful smile blooming on his lips. You really won't repent until you're facing death's door. After all these years, do you still not understand my personality? Serena Vance, my patience has limits. With that, he slammed Serena's head onto the table with a thud, gripping her neck tightly. In that case, I won't bother with your information and just tell your family directly. I believe they'd be quite happy to take you back. The pain of suffocation was perhaps less terrifying than Julian's threat. Her mind filled with the image of her father's ugly face as he declared he would marry her off to that decrepit old man. Serena panicked intensely, almost driven mad with fear. Don't tell them I'll talk, Julian dear, I'll tell you everything. Only after getting this response did Julian slowly release his grip. Speak, cough, cough. The sudden influx of cold air into her throat made her cough violently, but she didn't dare stop. Gasping for breath, she whimpered, You can look at my phone. As she spoke, she fumbled to unlock her phone and handed it over. I didn't do much, you misunderstood. Serena secretly felt relieved, thankful she had deleted all the provocative messages sent to Aurora earlier. Julian glanced at it once and guessed she was still pretending, unwilling to give up. He snatched the phone, preparing to send it to specialists to recover all the data. Hearing Julian make the call, Serena felt like the sky was falling. She quickly clung to Julian's arm, desperately pleading. Julian dear, believe me, please believe me this once. Don't send it for data recovery. However, this time Julian wasn't planning to give her another chance. He had given her enough chances. Unfortunately, Serena didn't cherish them herself. Looking at the collapsed Serena on the floor, he spoke grimly to his assistant, instructing him to find out everything else Serena had done to Aurora previously. Chapter 19. The investigation results and recovered chat data were delivered to Julian's home the next day. He had bought exact replicas of all of Aurora's former belongings and placed them back in their original spots. Every time he returned, he felt a fleeting sense that Aurora was still around. But gone was gone. Without Aurora, the entire villa felt dead, lifeless, as if it had lost all its vitality. Julian spent a long time mentally preparing himself before finally gathering the courage to click and view the files. The most recent item was a video Serena had secretly recorded the day before Aurora left, showing them kissing lightly at the piano. It was interspersed with text. "You probably don't know, this is Julian Deere's favorite spot. I won't film what happens next, afraid you won't be able to handle it. Do you think playing dumb all the time is interesting? How does it feel being the mistress who knew exactly what she was doing? Anyway, you'll always be the hidden third party in this life. If you really can't stand it, maybe you could beg me, and I'll let Julian Deere visit you a few more times. How about that?" Scrolling further up, more taunts flooded the screen, accompanied by countless intimate photos and videos of him and Serena. And her social media feed was filled with countless posts flaunting their affection, set to be visible only to Aurora. Julian was already overwhelmed by blinding rage. But when he opened the folder containing the investigation findings, the furious expression on his face froze, and his blood seemed to congeal. The thugs at the auction house, Serena had hired them herself, but that time, he had pushed Aurora to the ground, ignored her bleeding forehead, and even forced her to drink alcohol she couldn't tolerate because of it. He remembered her sorrowful eyes that day, and the soft laugh after hearing his self-righteous pronouncements. Julian's heart leaped violently, then felt as if it were being brutally gouged out, the pain causing cold sweat to drench him. "Bring Serena Vance here." His voice was so dark it sounded like it could drip water. Soon, Serena was pushed in. Seeing the scattered pictures on the floor, she quickly understood, her face turning deathly white. She dropped to her knees, crawling towards Julian's feet. "Julian dear, I'm sorry I did things I shouldn't have, but it was all because I love you because I love you." I spoke recklessly and said those things to her. "But ultimately, it's just because I want to stand by your side rightfully, Julian dear." Julian sneered, gripping Serena's chin tightly, applying so much force that it left a bruise on her face. "I told you more than once not to display anything about my help to you in front of Aurora. Didn't you understand? Now that you've driven her away, you deserve the consequences." With that, he coldly flung Serena's body away. But Serena crawled back, her eyes red-rimmed, her voice trembling. "Julian dear, I'm pregnant with your child for the baby's sake. I beg you, please spare me this time." The man before her didn't spare her another glance. "Of course, I know you're pregnant, but so what? It's just a child. I can have as many as I want. What makes you think you're worthy of bearing my child? Besides, getting rid of the one in your belly now will make it more convenient for you to get pregnant with that other man's child, won't it?" Chapter 20. Hearing this, Serena completely panicked. She desperately shielded her stomach. The Vance family was a shadow of its former self, constantly teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. If she couldn't keep this child, she would completely lose her chance to secure the position of Mrs. Kingsley. She might even be handed over to that old pervert, to be toyed with by him. Her face was as white as paper. Instinctively, she grabbed her phone, wanting to call Eleanor Kingsley. Eleanor prioritized children above all else. If she knew Serena was pregnant, she would definitely find a way to protect her. He kicked the phone away without hesitation just as she was about to dial. Stood up, lifted Serena's chin with the toe of his shoe, and said coldly, "Obediently abort the child. I've already finalized the divorce proceedings. Your consent doesn't matter. Stop thinking about those ridiculous schemes. When I find Aurora, you'd better apologize to her properly. If she's willing to forgive you, I might still leave you a way out." He gave Serena no room to refuse. In his presence, she was always the subordinate, the one seeking favor. Serena collapsed onto the floor, devoid of any dignity, yet still desperately protecting her lower abdomen. As long as the child could be born safely, her future life wouldn't be too badly affected. However, Julian wasn't planning to give her that chance. He had already done so many things to wrong Aurora. If this child remained, he and Aurora would be completely finished. Julian's face suddenly turned ruthless. He directly ordered the bodyguards to drag Serena to the hospital. Serena tried to struggle and resist countless times, crying and begging for mercy, but she was no match for several bodyguards. She was still pressed onto the cold operating table. Anesthetic was injected into her body. Gradually, she lost control of her limbs and her eyelids closed involuntarily. When she woke up again, her lower abdomen felt empty. The place that once held her only hope was gone. The effect of the anesthetic in her abdomen began to wear off. Intense pain gripped her, making even the slightest movement excruciatingly difficult. Tears streamed down her face. The child was gone. Her future support was completely severed meanwhile. Julian returned to his usual nightclub, holing up in a private room, remorsefully downing drink after drink. He didn't know how long it had been since he'd had a proper night's sleep. The traces of Aurora's presence in the house grew fainter and fainter. He could barely sense that she had lived in the villa for a long time. He didn't dare go back, escaping instead to this place, drinking bottle after bottle. "I'm sorry, Aurora. Don't you dislike me drinking? Come out and stop me." "Aurora." Just then, a knock sounded on the door. He didn't want to be disturbed. Only his few buddies knew about this room besides him, but he hadn't told them he was here today, so whoever was knocking must have the wrong room. But the knocking continued incessantly. Seeing no response, the person even pushed the door open and walked in. "Ghetto," before the harsh words could finish, he looked up and stared blankly at the girl, pushing a cart of drinks and snacks at the doorway. "Hello, did someone here order drinks?" A familiar voice exploded in his ears. His eyes instantly reddened considerably. "El Aurora?" Chapter 21, the young woman before him took 2 steps back, her brow slightly furrowed in confusion. "Who are you calling?" The similar expression and movements, the almost identical face and voice for a fleeting moment, he truly believed the girl standing before him was Aurora. But her confused eyes clearly showed she wasn't. The girl in front of him was younger, seemingly not yet 20, more like Aurora during her university years. He suppressed the urge to pull her into his arms, his voice trembling. "What's your name?" The girl seemed startled, taking another couple of steps back. "Sorry, I think I have the wrong room." With that, she turned to leave, but Julian grabbed her arm. His hand was still shaking. Warm tears rolled down his cheeks, dripping onto the back of the girl's hand. The girl hesitated, stopped, fumbled through her cart, found some tissues, and handed them to him. Are you okay? You should wipe your tears first." When Julian looked up again, clarity had returned to his eyes. He gazed at the girl before him with a complex expression. "Do you work here? Quit. Stay by my side. I'll pay you 10 times your salary." The girl took 2 steps back again, forcefully shaking off his hand. "What kind of person do you take me for?" Seemingly extremely annoyed, she didn't linger this time, pushing her cart and quickly leaving Julian standing alone, staring blankly at the girl's hastily retreating back. So similar. His heart pounded violently. Reason told him he shouldn't pursue this girl. If Aurora found out, any chance would be completely gone. Yet, a voice echoed persistently in his mind. He wouldn't do anything to this girl, just look at her face. It's fine. When he finds Aurora again, he'll find a way to send this girl away, ensuring she never appears before Aurora. Ultimately, the voice in his heart overcame his reason. He took out his phone and called the owner of the club. Less than half an hour later, information about the girl was delivered to him. Her name was Wendy Marsh, a university student. Her only relative had suddenly fallen seriously ill, leaving her no choice but to work here because the pay was generally higher, and she occasionally received tips. She hadn't been here long, currently just doing tasks like serving drinks and snacks. "Bring her here." Julian's voice was low. Looking at Wendy's photo in his hand, his eyes glazed over, as if seeing someone else through her. Soon, the girl stood before him again. She looked at him timidly, her cautious expression one that the former Aurora would never show. "Don't look at me like that. I'm not going to eat you." A trace of impatience crept into Julian's voice unconsciously. "Stay by my side. I'll cover all your mother's medical expenses, but your clothes and style must all follow my instructions." Wendy seemed flustered and lost. The bodyguards behind her blocked her exit route. She could only tilt her head up to look at the man standing before her. "What do I need to do?" Gazing at the face that was 80% similar, he lost focus again. "You don't need to do anything, just stay with me. I will handle everything for you. Just do as I say. And the first thing is, promise me, don't leave me again, Aurora." Chapter 22, after keeping Wendy Marsh by his side, Julian seemed to mention Aurora less and less. He even indulged Wendy, allowing her to become increasingly arrogant, even starting to post updates about her daily life with Julian online. The story of the domineering CEO rescuing the helpless girl trapped in a nightclub quickly made her account go viral. Her latest post was even about a lavish birthday party Julian threw for her, where he proposed publicly during the event. The proposal video went viral, catapulting her social media account to fame again. In just 2 months, she became a blogger with tens of millions of followers. The end of the video mentioned their wedding in half a month, specifying it would be live streamed. Time flew by. Half a month passed quickly. He didn't skimp on the wedding, despite the short notice. The venue was exceptionally luxurious, and he even invited numerous media outlets to broadcast it live simultaneously. The event even became a top trending topic online, staying firmly at the #1 spot. At 12 o'clock, the wedding officially began. Everything proceeded according to the rehearsals until the officiant asked the question, "Mr. Julian Kingsley, do you take this woman before you to be your lawfully wedded wife, to have and to hold, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, forsaking all others until death do you part?" Julian curved his lips into a smile, but his voice was icy cold. "I do not." Wendy stared in disbelief, stepping forward and grabbing Julian's hand. "Julian, are you joking?" Julian, however, flung her hand away. Watching Wendy stumble and fall due to her high heels, he looked down at her condescendingly. "Who do you think you are, worthy of marrying me? Don't think I don't know who sent you." Wendy was instantly speechless. Julian remained surprisingly calm, signaling for all live cameras to continue rolling. The live stream chat exploded instantly. Countless people flooded in to watch the fiasco, the screen filled with exclamation marks and question marks. "This woman was sent by a friend of mine, no, I should say a rival now, found to resemble my beloved. I pretended to fall for it, secretly encouraged her to create an account, constantly boosting her traffic, all for today's live broadcast. Aurora Bell, I truly know I was wrong. You will be the only wife I ever have in my life. No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, I will absolutely find you. You promised me you would always stay by my side." To everyone watching the live stream, if anyone knows Aurora Bell's current whereabouts and provides relevant information, I am willing to offer a generous reward. Thank you. Behind him, the large screen that had been showing videos of him and Wendy suddenly flickered, then changed to display photos of Aurora Bell. The next second, the live stream was cut off. Eleanor Kingsley stood below the stage, her face livid, hanging up her phone. She was the one who had ordered the broadcast to be cut. Looking at the man on stage, whose eyes held a hint of madness, she felt only disappointment. The farce ended. Wendy was forcibly dragged away, while Julian was escorted into a car by his friends. "Julian, why did you have to pull a stunt like this? There are many ways to find Aurora Bell. This move really upset your mother." Julian, however, leaned back against the seat, smiling. Looking at the numerous trending topics related to him on his phone, he showed a rare smile. "Only this way can more people see it. Netizens will help me find Aurora's whereabouts. As long as she comes back, I don't care about anything else." Chapter 23, Aurora Bell had been planning to wash up and go to sleep. Just after drying her hair, there was a forceful knock on her door. Slightly stunned, Aurora subconsciously opened the door. Sophia Mason stood at the doorway, her lips pressed tightly together, her expression unusually serious. "Aurora, I think you're trending on the hot searches back in China." She handed her phone to Aurora. The top few trending topics all contained Julian Kingsley's name. One of them was "Julian Kingsley affectionately confesses, where are you, Aurora Bell?" The feed was flooded with photos of Aurora, though currently, no one had revealed her location. The expression on Aurora's face froze. Slightly bewildered, she took the phone and carefully examined the prominent trending topics, her brow furrowed. Sophia didn't press further, just looked at Aurora with concern. Aurora, however, didn't react strongly. She just sighed softly and admitted it. "That's me. Julian Kingsley is my ex. I left the country right after we broke up." Hearing this sudden gossip, the room fell silent for a moment. Sophia finally spoke, shocked. "Huh. If you broke up, why is he making such a huge scene? Isn't that causing trouble for you?" Aurora rubbed her temples, feeling helpless. "It is a bit, but I'm abroad, and due to certain reasons, his family can't leave the country, so it won't have too much impact." Sophia, however, looked grave. "It's still better to be careful. He seems quite extreme. People at your company might recognize you now. Aurora, maybe you should wear a hat or something when you go out recently." Seeing Sophia genuinely worried for her, Aurora managed a faint smile. "It's okay, he can't come abroad anyway." Sophia clearly wasn't reassured, nodding somberly and even digging out one of her own hats. "Take this when you go out. It can provide some cover and sun protection. Aurora accepted it, trying to lighten the mood, joking with her. He's just an ex-boyfriend, no need to be so tense. Julian Kingsley acting crazy on such an important occasion clearly shows he's got issues. I've read lots of news stories about ex-boyfriends doing extreme things out of obsessive love. Aurora, I'm really worried you'll get entangled with him and something bad might happen. Hearing the young woman she'd only known for a few months express such concern, Aurora's heart softened. She took Sophia's hand and patted it gently. We were together for many years. Although he did many things that hurt me, he probably won't be that extreme, and he certainly wouldn't harm me. Don't worry. Although she said this with a smile, Sophia remembered her silence when they discussed ex-boyfriends a few days ago, vaguely guessing that the relationship must have caused her significant pain. Sophia didn't know how to comfort her, racking her brain for words. It will pass, Aurora. You've already escaped the mire, just look forward. Besides, we're here with you. I have lots of classmates. If he dares to cause trouble, I'll get my classmates to protect you with me. Seeing the determination in her eyes, the anxiety in Aurora's heart slowly dissipated. She chuckled. Okay, thank you, Sophia. She had survived such difficult times before. Now she was abroad with many friends willing to protect her. What else was there to worry about? Chapter 24, online discussions about Julian Kingsley's devotion grew, and some extreme netizens even began cursing Aurora Bell, calling her ungrateful. This continued until Richard Morgan, the former friend relentlessly targeted by Julian, was pushed to the brink of bankruptcy. He began frantically posting inside information he knew. Aurora Bell is a good woman. When Julian Kingsley went blind for his ex-girlfriend, she was the one who silently stayed by his side, helped him out of despair, and even waited until he successfully regained his sight. After he could see again, Julian's mother suddenly changed her tune, looking down on Aurora in every way. But Julian protected Aurora, and they were quite loving. Unfortunately, Serena Vance came back. That's Julian's ex. Just shed a few tears, and Julian foolishly married her, even trying to hide it from Aurora. During this time, Serena Vance framed Aurora in various ways, while the man you all call deeply devoted protected Serena and tormented Aurora endlessly. Didn't this just drive her away, disappearing without a trace? You netizens are fools too. You believe whatever people say. Do you really think he's that devoted? Devoted enough to marry someone else? Devoted enough to get someone else pregnant? Then find out it caused problems, abort the baby, and personally deliver his ex-girlfriend to the bed of some old pervert? Since you admire him so much, I wish you all find true love like Julian Kingsley. With this, Julian's image completely collapsed. Although the Kingsley family quickly suppressed the trending topics, netizens' fingers and fickle opinions moved faster. Julian had been close to getting information about Aurora, but because of this incident, those who were originally planning to tell him ended up cursing him out before blocking him. Infuriated, Julian targeted Richard even more aggressively. Former close friends became enemies, and Richard was eventually driven to bankruptcy, burdened with massive debt. Perhaps seeing no hope left, one day when Julian was driving out, Richard Morgan somehow acquired a van, floored the accelerator, and slammed into him violently. The van was too dilapidated. Its front end crumpled completely, and Richard died instantly at the scene. Julian's car, due to its superior safety features, spared his life, but he suffered massive internal injuries, his organs rapidly failing. His eyes were also permanently damaged by the impact, completely blind with no hope of recovery. When Julian woke up, his vision was pitch black. He tried to stand, but his whole body felt like it was sinking into clouds, light and powerless. What happened? What's wrong with me? Losing his sight again plunged him into extreme panic. The darkness merged with his past nightmares. His voice trembled as he repeatedly called Aurora's name. But no one responded, only a bodyguard, clearly annoyed by the noise, tossing out a sentence. Stop shouting, still think you're the young master? Mrs. Kingsley already gave the word, just stay alive. If you can't handle it, go kill yourself, just don't appear in public. His voice was hoarse. What do you mean? The bodyguard was about to answer, but footsteps approached the door, followed by Serena Vance's mocking voice echoing beside him. You're blind, and you'll never get better. In your circle, you know what that means, don't you? Your mother rescued me from that pervert's hands and told me to stay with you and take good care of you. After all, you're still her son." He couldn't see the expression on the woman's face before him, only feel her slowly approaching, then reaching out to pinch his chin, just as forcefully as he had treated her when he learned the truth. "Julian Kingsley, isn't this great? Trash like us should go to hell together." The only response she received was Julian's pained groan. Chapter 25, for the next 2 New Years, Aurora Bell also spent them in Australia. Each year, Sophia Mason's parents would come over to celebrate, and Sophia would always pull Aurora along to join her family. Perhaps because they spent so much time together and their personalities and values aligned well, their relationship grew increasingly close. That year, the Mason family had moved all their company operations to Melbourne, planning to settle there permanently. Sophia even pestered Aurora, asking if she planned to stay. Aurora had considered this question for a long time. Her few close friends back home had all married and started families. Her parents had passed away long ago, leaving her alone with no property or assets in China. Considering both her relationships and her current career focus, she personally leaned towards staying. Her career was flourishing. She had even saved enough money to buy her own property. She had previously considered returning the money Alina Kingsley gave her, but Sophia stopped her. The young woman poked her indignantly. "Are you stupid? You poured your heart and soul into taking care of a blind man for so long you deserve every penny. Why would you give it back?" She never mentioned the matter again and began preparing her immigration materials. During this process, the Mason family helped her immensely, enabling her to overcome various hurdles. With sufficient funds and her own strong business acumen, she declined her boss's promotion offer and started her own studio. Over the following 2 years, the studio continuously expanded and gradually established itself. After 4 years, Aurora successfully met the immigration requirements and obtained her permanent residency. When she returned to China to handle the final procedures, she met up with friends she hadn't seen in a long time. Years had passed, time leaving its mark. None of them looked like their younger selves anymore. But whenever they gathered, they could still recapture that feeling of being able to talk about anything. Naturally, the topic everyone was most curious about was her love life. Facing their eager gossip, Aurora was candid and open. "I dated someone for a couple of years, but we broke up due to personality differences. We're partners now, though. My current boyfriend, Liam, we got together early this year. He's 2 years younger than me, a student at the University of Melbourne, but he's very mature." Her face radiated happiness as she recounted details of their relationship, sharing photos and videos with everyone. Seeing the well-matched couple looking happy on the screen, everyone expressed relieved smiles. After chatting for a while longer, someone suddenly brought up Julian Kingsley. "Hey, have you guys heard? Apparently, Julian Kingsley is dying." Hearing this, Aurora's heart gave a slight jolt, and she instinctively looked up. Over the years, she had been busy with work and adapting to her new environment, rarely inquiring about news from back home. Sophia probably knew things but never mentioned them, likely out of concern for her. Although she occasionally chatted with Chloe Adams about the past, that period always felt shrouded in mist, unclear. And the name Julian Kingsley felt like a fixed, old photograph, tinged with a yellowed sense of age. She had assumed he would gradually let go of that relationship, move on, and have his own life. She never expected his life had apparently been miserable, and now he was critically ill. The atmosphere in the room cooled for a moment. Several people carefully observed Aurora's reaction. Seeing only shock, everyone relaxed, relieved, and started chatting freely. "I heard about this too, Aurora. But since you said you didn't want to hear about him anymore, I never mentioned it. It's quite a sad story, after all." "What sad story?" He brought it on himself. Treating Aurora like that for Serena Vance back then going crazy later. Ended up being crashed into by his buddy, completely blind, basically crippled. I don't know what Alina Kingsley was thinking, letting Serena Vance take care of him. Anyway, he's been kept barely alive, but tormented badly enough. After so long, Aurora surprisingly struggled to recall the other woman's name. Hearing Serena Vance mentioned so abruptly left her momentarily stunned. Hearing the fate of these two people who had completely altered the course of her life left her feeling somewhat wistful, a sigh escaping her lips. Even if she felt a pang, it was only for a fleeting moment. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Snapping back to reality, she took out her phone. It was a call from Sophia. "Aurora, when are you done with everything and coming back? My mom made that fruit jam you love. I'll bring you a couple of jars when you get back. I'll be back tomorrow." Everything from the past gradually blurred. She gazed steadily out the window. The sun was shining brightly, just like the day she left all those years ago.